said them changed the rule yesterday. Like, how they change the rule and then not say it? So you
also going well is AE in lane 2, but here comes Fraser Pryce. It's no contest. Asher Smith in pursuit, but Fraser Pryce gets the line.
Asking all the athletes who, for whatever reason, don't stay in the village, them can't come through the gate.
It's a clean start. Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce got away well, but now Elaine Thompson coming into a running. But
came through this gate yesterday and went through security and was okay. The man said we can't go over all the way up with it.
The line, but Clayton's going to get this. It's Tia Clayton, 10.92. Well, I said she's been running very well, and she's overtaken
everybody else that ends up come back down here. That's crazy.
Hey, what's happening there? What's happening over here now?
Look at Price. They're side by side. They're neck and neck. Two icons, two stars. But it's Elaine Thompson Hera.
Brilliant start there from Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce, now arriving into the running. Let's keep an eye on the clock.
Not on this occasion, she's not, no.
I'm calling you the 100-meter queen. I hope everybody joins in. So, do you mind if I crown you for a second? There it is.
In the heart of Paris, with the world watching and history ready to be written, one of the most iconic sprinters in Olympic history made a decision that stunned fans, shook the track world, and left reporters scrambling for answers. Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce, known globally as the pocket rocket and one of the most dominant forces in sprinting, was set to explode out of the blocks for what many believed would be her final Olympic 100 miss. But instead, she vanished from the track without warning, pulling out just minutes before the semifinals. For nearly a year, the silence was deafening. No statement, no explanation, just speculation. But now, in a raw and revealing interview with Marie Claire, Shelly Ann finally breaks her silence. And what she reveals? It wasn't an injury. It wasn't politics. It was a personal decision, a me moment that changed everything. What really happened in Paris? Why did one of the greatest athletes of all time choose to step back on the biggest stage of her career? And what does this mean for her final run at the World Championships? The truth is more emotional, more human, and more powerful than anyone expected. Heading into Paris, all eyes were on Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce. At 37, this wasn't just another race. It was supposed to be a swan song, a defining moment for a living legend preparing for her last Olympic Games. The world knew her for golds in Beijing, London, and Tokyo. She had clawed her way back from injury, from motherhood, and from doubters who said she was done. But she was far from finished. She'd trained relentlessly, managing her body, her mindset, and her energy, all leading to this stage. Cameras followed her every move. Headlines speculated on whether this would be her last Olympic run. And Jamaica, her home, her pride, watched with bated breath. But beneath that polished exterior and steely confidence, something was brewing. Shelly Ann knew this race wasn't just about medals. It was about control. It was about peace. And it was about ending things on her own terms. Still, no one expected what would happen next. No one saw the storm she was facing beneath the calm. And when race day arrived, one small mishap triggered a tidal wave that would upend everything. It all began with something that, to anyone else, would have seemed minor: a locked gate. But for Shelly Ann, it was a signal. It was the first domino. On the day of her semifinal, she arrived at the stadium as usual, following the same routine she'd practiced for decades. But this time, security rerouted her. Her regular entrance, the one she always used, was suddenly closed. The moment threw her off balance. She was delayed. Her entire warm-up window, meticulously timed to the second, evaporated as she tried to find an alternative route into the venue. In sprinting, momentum is everything. Precision is survival. And that lost hour wasn't just inconvenient. It was devastating. Her heart rate spiked. Her mind raced. The calm, collected Shelly Ann began to unravel behind the scenes. The cameras didn't see it, the fans didn't know it. But inside her, anxiety was climbing fast. She hadn't even stepped on the track yet, and already her system was in chaos. What should have been a minor inconvenience turned into a trigger. The gate may have been locked, but something far deeper was cracking open inside her. Standing in the warm-up area, Shelly Ann tried to refocus, but her body wasn't responding. Her thoughts were spiraling. She couldn't catch her breath. The adrenaline, instead of fueling her, was flooding her nervous system. And that's when she realized she wasn't just nervous. She was having a full-blown panic response. Something inside was screaming, "Not today." And in that moment, Shelly Ann, Olympic champion, national hero, warrior on the track, did something unthinkable. She chose herself. She walked away. Not because she couldn't run, but because she knew she shouldn't. She knew the cost of pushing through wasn't worth it. It was a me decision, she later said, a choice rooted not in fear but in self-awareness. She wasn't broken, she wasn't defeated, she was reclaiming control in a sport that often asks you to leave everything, including your well-being, on the track. Shelly Ann wasn't willing to do that anymore, not on someone else's terms, not for a medal, and not for a narrative that didn't fit her truth. The world might not have understood it then, but to her, it was the strongest move she could make. In the days that followed, Shelly Ann did something rare for any elite athlete. She disappeared. No press conferences, no public explanations, just silence. She retreated to New York City with her husband and son, far from the cameras and chatter. And in that quiet, something powerful happened. She allowed herself to just exist, not as a sprinter, not as a brand, but as a human being. Her husband Jason became her emotional anchor, reminding her, "I've got you." They walked the streets, ate together, talked about everything except track. She began to feel again, not the pressure to perform, but the peace of presence. The weight that had built up over years, expectations, age debates, legacy questions, began to lift. And in that reset, she found something she hadn't felt in a while: joy. Joy not tied to speed or medals. Joy rooted in being whole. And when she finally re-emerged, it wasn't with a PR statement, it was with clarity. Paris hadn't broken her. It had revealed what needed healing. And for the first time in a long time, Shelly Ann was no longer running from anything. When Shelly Ann announced her return for one final season in 2025, it wasn't framed as a comeback. It was a declaration. She didn't need to prove anything to the world. She had already done that a dozen times over. This was about finishing what she started, but on her own terms. She made it clear this isn't a farewell tour. This is a victory lap, not for gold, but for growth. Her first few races were symbolic, each one a reminder that she still had fire in her legs and peace in her heart. And as she prepared for the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, the mission wasn't just to win. It was to show the world, and especially young women, that reinvention is powerful, that you can pause and still return stronger. That vulnerability isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And every time she steps onto the track now, she's not just chasing time. She's chasing meaning. Each stride isn't just speed, it's a statement. This is what it looks like to take your story back. Beyond the track, Shelly Ann's impact stretches far and wide. From Waterhouse, a humble community in Kingston, to the world stage, she's become more than an athlete. She's a beacon. Through scholarships, mentorship, and advocacy, she's poured back into the same neighborhoods that raised her. She's shown young girls that they don't have to choose between ambition and authenticity. And in this final chapter, her message is even louder. Age is not the limit. Labels don't define you. And medals are not the only measure of greatness. What Shelly Ann is doing in 2025 isn't just competing. It's rewriting the narrative for athletes who've been told their prime has passed. She's showing that growth is just as heroic as speed. And as she prepares to hang up her spikes, she's doing it with more grace, more strength, and more humanity than ever. This isn't just the end of a sprinting career. It's the continuation of a legacy rooted in purpose, pride, and power. Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce's story was never just about winning races. It was about how she ran her race in life. Paris wasn't a collapse, it was a choice. A rare moment where an athlete chose peace over pressure, self-love over sacrifice. And now, as she nears her final bow on the global stage, she's running faster in spirit than she ever has on the track. Not for medals, but for meaning. And if there's one lesson to take from this icon's journey, it's this. Sometimes the most powerful move isn't to push through, but to pause. And that's something the world is finally starting to understand.